I'm Jake Quinsee, and this is Purrely 4.0. Over the few weeks, I've been giving you the deck profile of Purrely of how it should be played. Now I've updated it. This is 4.0. If you like this sort of content, click the subscribe button, comment below, all that. And this weekend, I'll be streaming the World Championships, and I'll be commentating it all on Twitch. I'll leave the link below. Go and follow ahead of time so you get notified when I'll be going live. So this is it. This is Purrely 4.0, and as you can see from last week's version, it's updated. There are a few changes that are quite important, so I'm going to break it down as we get to the cards. This deck is very good, and it's arguably the best deck of the format. However, I do think there's going to be some synchro-based decks that we should definitely take a look at moving forward that I'm currently working on behind the scenes. Next week's list, the Purrely 5.0 version, is going to be a version I reckon everyone will start adapting to because YCSs are approaching and this deck doesn't seem that it's going to slow down. The ban list may affect it and we will be start touching into the ban list very, very soon. So that'll be most likely the next video that drops on this channel, which will be the ban list reaction or my ban list prediction even. Going back to this, we got free Purrely Lily. We have the Sleepy Memories, the Happies, the My Friend Purrelys, the Pretty Memories, etc. If you watch the previous videos, you'll know that these are always going to be the same. These cards here, all the Purrely cards up until the trap, are going to be the same cards. You shouldn't be changing these ratios. These ratios are literally perfect. You could argue to play one trap, but I probably wouldn't recommend it without some additional reinforcement cards, which you'll see next week. These cards stay the same, don't change them. Then we have the hand traps, which are Ash Blossoms and Drollbirds, which we played last week as well. These don't change. Keep them the same. Droll's very, very good now. It's the better Nibiru of the format because it hits more decks and it does kind of what Nibiru really does ultimately, if that makes sense, in this type of format. But I mentioned that in the 3.0 deck list. Now we're playing Mourner and we're playing Effect Veiler. Now Mourner's better than Veiler, but the restriction with Mourner is it's once per turn. So Mourner reads, if your opponent special summons a monster face up, except during the damage step, you can discard this card, then target one of those face up monsters, negate its effect until the end of this turn, and if that face up monster leaves the field, its controller takes damage equal to the original attack. You can only use the effect of Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill once per turn. So this card's very strong. Now, why is it better than Effect Veiler? Well, first of all, you can use it in each phase. It's not restricted in which phase you can use it in. So you can use it in the draw phase. So if they go draw phase, Sleepy Memory, and summon Purrely Lily, you can then Mourner it. Because the field spell is not going to be face up yet, because they're doing it in the draw phase to play around Drollbird. Now, if you Mourner it, it's going to slow them down a lot, and usually it's game ending. Then we have Veiler, which the restriction with this is that you only can use it in the main phase. However, you can use multiple per turn. So why didn't we just go with 3 Mourner, 1 Veiler? Well, you want to split it up because you're drawing so many cards. Mourner was once per turn, we'd play 3 of those. And if Effect Veiler was once per turn, then we want to play less because it's just not as good. But if Effect Veiler was better, then we'd be playing 3 Veiler, 1 Mourner. So just keep that in mind. Also, Mourner plays around Hugin against the Runic decks when they go draw phase into Hugin to add the Fountain to play around Drollbird. Next, we have 3 Book of Moon. This stays the same. Don't change this. This just is too broken not to play. It's very, very good. It's better than Book of Eclipse because Eclipse books your own monsters. This, you can just target one and book it face down. Yes, this card is quite restrictive against the Purrely Street, but as you can see, it's fine. It's fine. The card's just too good. And if you go second and your opponent sets up Gnaw and then they have the trap face down, and if they get greedy after drawing multiple cards through Sleepy Memory, then they flip the trap up to try and draw more cards. If you just book the monster that they're targeting, then it doesn't resolve, which means then you can just play. So you just have to play 3 of these. It's really good in the main deck against, like you'd have it against Kashtira. It's really strong. It's really good as well going second when you can just start setting up your happiness. If you want to set up your happiness, it's just too good. You just can't cut this card. I know a lot of players are going back and to it. Like, just don't stick to 3. It's too good. Okay, then I'm going to go to the talents. Now, we're playing 1 talents now. Why are we playing 1 talents? Okay, the card's too broken not to play one of, because, like I've said in multiple of my videos, this card is always going to be good whenever you see it, because you're playing 1 copy. Now, if it's always going to be good, why wouldn't you play 3? Well, the thing is, it's a hard once per turn. You can only play 1 per turn, so you can't risk bricking by drawing multiple. So when you see 1, you should have enough engine in your hand to be able to play. So it's always going to be good. You should always play 1 of these cards in every deck you play, minimum. And when it goes to 1 on the ban list, Well, I think it should get banned. But when it goes to 1, you're going to play it anyway. So you might as well play 1 now, okay? Then we have 2 Prosperity. We're not playing 3. 3 is just too many, like I mentioned in the previous version. This card is really good because it fixes consistency with the deck. The deck is more consistent now because of the new cards that we've got on the Duelist Nexus. And the only card we really needed was actually Nor. So this just allows us to play, allows us to see one of the 10 quick plays that we need. Ideally, Sleepy Memory. You just can't really cut this card. Now, you could probably go to 1 because you ideally never want to resolve 2 of these cards because you're never banishing 6. You only really want to banish 3. If you are in a point where you have to banish 6 by playing a second one, you're pretty much going to lose anyway. So that's why you can't play 3 of these cards. 2 of them, you just need to play more just to see it. But yeah, this is 40. Clean 40, wouldn't change the main deck anymore. However, the next version you'll like a lot. It's quite different, and it's what I would take if a YCS was this weekend. We have the side deck. Now, you'll notice I put Book of Eclipse in here. So I took out the Kurikaras, and I took out the Contact Cs, and I put in Book of Eclipses and XYZ Encores. Now, the mirror is going to be more popular. So if you go second, Book of Eclipse, and you can book the monster, now you have 6 books. So usually in the mirror, this is just broken. So when you go second, you should always win the mirror match, basically, if you win game 1. If you don't win game 1 and you go first, you should win game 2. And then go into game 3, they set up with the Nor and the Trap. And then now you're going to have basically 9 cards against them, which should always make you win. So got 3 Book of Eclipse and 3 Book of Moon, it's just broken. Then alongside 3 XYZ Encore. So if they do resolve the Trap, then you can just play a priority Encore on the Nor in the draw phase. In the standby phase, so they don't draw any more cards from Sleepy underneath it because it's a new monster. So you can just get rid of it. If you don't have this card, then one card you can play instead of this is Herald of the Abyss. So it does something quite similar, but it's just not as good. And also it's not a quick play. So they're still going to be able to draw additional cards. This card basically reads, pay 1500 life points to declare 1 monster type, 1 attribute. Your opponent must send 1 face-up monster with the declared type and attribute from the field to the graveyard, if possible. And for the rest of the turn, your opponent can activate the effects of the monster that was sent, and you can only use 1 of these cards per turn. The card's actually pretty strong. It just makes them send the card, which means my friend Purrely won't trigger, the field spell won't trigger. So it's really strong. It's really strong. So yeah, I mean, you just have to play this, if I'm completely honest. And yeah, like Encore, target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, XYZ monster they control, that has materials, detach all the materials from it, return it to the extra deck. Then if there's a monster card attached, XYZ, summon the card, and your opponent, cards and effects cannot be activated in response to this card's activation. So that's really strong as well, so your opponent can't Solemn Judgment. Then we have 3 Cosmic Cyclone. You just have to play 3 of these cards. This card just allows you to beat a lot of the decks. Like Labyrinth won a big event over the weekend, the Extravaganza. This is a card that you just absolutely need 3 of. I really like it when I go first, putting it into the deck, because you can hit a lot of the field spells in the format. You can hit a lot of the continuous spells in the format. Kashtira's got Birth, they've got the field spell. You need 3 Cosmic Cyclone. Then we have 3 Solemn Judgment. Like I mentioned in the previous video, I really like this when you go first because you're able to turn off the Book of Moons. You're able to turn off the Book of Eclipse. And you can be really greedy then and draw multiple cards. And if they don't have a way to respond to that, you should win the game up there and then. Then we have 3-Dimensional Barrier. Now, this card needs to get banned. It's too broken. You're going to see why as the format keeps evolving. This card is disgusting. It's a lingering prevention of your opponent being able to play the game. So it's really strong. Yes, you can be like, well, you can't, it's not searchable. Well, Frost can search it. So yeah, this card, really strong. Definitely should be in your deck list, like in some way or the other. So yeah, play this. Then the extra deck didn't change from last week's video. Got 2 Nor, 2 Beauty, 2 Happiness, 2 Baby Nor, 1 Plump, 2 Zeus. We got Anima, we have the Azalea, we have the Slacker Magician, and we have the Downer Magician. You kind of want to keep this the same. Some players are not playing 2 Nor, which means then you could take 1 out for the Princess Sprite if you miss that. But I really like the card because not just for its first effect to allow you to set up to the big Nor, but the fact that this card can bounce cards and then you can just attack, make a big Zeus because you can just attack, then you can overlay for the Downed, and then you can make a big Zeus, and that's just game over usually from that point. So it doesn't, the second one doesn't come up that much, but when it does, it's usually game winning. Okay, so that's why I really like 2. I wouldn't change this deck much. I would pretty much keep it the same when you're playing your locals and your tournaments, because it's really strong, this deck list. The next version, like I mentioned in this video, you're going to really like it, because that's how I would have played Purrely if there was a YCS at the same weekend. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next week in the next one. And this week I am streaming the World Championships. But yeah, the Twitch link is below. Click on that, and then you'll be able to see the stream. All right, guys, peace.